views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the speakers and not necessarily those of GEB America, Oral Roberts University, or their employees. This program is not intended to offer investment, financial, medical, legal, or any other advice. Viewers should consult a subject matter professional regarding any such matters.
Hello and welcome to another GEB America podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Gunn. Welcome to all those who are listening. I want to give a special shout out to those most recently growing audience in our pray.com audience. Maybe you're tuning in from there or from Spotify or from Apple Podcasts, wherever your audience, where you're finding us today. We're so glad you tuned in. A little shout out as well for our sponsors, Energize Health and then Gladius Technology Solutions. Both of those, we're so appreciative for supporting us. For more information about them, please go to energizehealth.com or gladiussolutions.com and find out more about them. My guest today is a visionary, a leader, an entrepreneur, a wonderful person who cares deeply about the people God places in her sphere of influence. Please help me welcome to the podcast, Shannon Wilburn. Welcome.
I feel like I can say goodbye now because you set the expectation really high.
And scene.
And thank you.
Yes, and we're good. All right, good. No, seriously, we're so glad to have you, Shannon. And it's, before we start here, it is amazing to realize we had a chance to be on a little TV show 5 years ago. And I can't believe it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
But that time was something special. I really appreciated getting to know you then. And even since then, as you said so well, a lot has changed.
Yes.
So we'll get into that as well. But let's just jump into my first question here, which basically take us back on your journey. Take us back to maybe where did your decision to follow, Jesus, and like where did that kind of happen, and how did that influence your walk into today?
Yep. I feel like I was born into a Christian household, and but we were, based on what my mom and dad have told us, we were really Sunday morning Christians. And my dad went through a really hard time in his life when we were entering junior high, my sister and I. And what I mean by a hard time in his life, at the age of 33, my sister and I were 12. He was a CFO of an oil and gas company, kind of an up and coming, he was an up and coming, very smart business professional, climbing the corporate ladder. He had just done something. He had taken a company public while doing something. This was something, my mom can't really remember what it is, but it was something that had never been done before. But he was meeting with people like the Rockefellers and Ross Perot, and he had back in the early 80s had $100,000 in stock options, and so he was doing very well at the age of 33. Well, he went. He started having numbness in his legs on a ski trip. And came back and started going to the doctor and found out that he had the progressive form of multiple sclerosis. Oh, wow. And he went from a cane to a walker to a wheelchair in the span of 6 weeks, went on disability insurance, left that huge cushy job where we had just built a house around an atrium. We had 2 brand new cars in the driveway, and I had clothes in my closet that still had tags on them. We were living that life, and everything changed. We sold the cars, we sold the house, we moved into a rent house, and my mom went to work. So everything changed. Well, what also changed is our church attendance. And so we went from being what was called Sunday morning Christians back when there were, where you went to church 3 times a week if you were a real Christian.
Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. Absolutely. Yes.
So that is what we started doing. And my dad's outlet, he was still mentally absolutely capable and there and smart. It started turning to Jesus, and he prayed like no one else and read Why Bad Things Happen to Good People. And, he started being in charge of a ministry at our church called World Bible School, where he was bringing people to Christ there. And so it was kind of this transformation from entering junior high until, I'm going to cry probably. I haven't told this story in a while.
It's all good.
Where he became the leader of our family. And he was a leader in our family, but was not leading us closer to Christ in the first 12 years of our life. And the second part of our time at home, when I say our, my twin sister and I, he did a 180. So much so that I was resentful of it at times. Like here is back before the internet, he would print out anything and everything he could on Christianity, on, picking out a spouse. And like he became our techer. And I wish I knew we were going to talk about this, because I would show you, I think in my cabinet right above my desk, I have it's like a folder. It's a compilation of articles he wrote and things he printed off for us to read with his notes on it. And he wanted us to know and love the Lord. And I really took it for granted that my dad was doing that. And I was kind of resentful of it when I was in junior high and high school. Like, oh my gosh, we have to have a family devotional, and you want me to be home 2 nights a week so we can have family time, and
because we know everything at that age, right? All we know is we know so much.
R-rated movies, and that was when PG-13 came out. We weren't even, as 17-year-olds, we weren't really even allowed to go to PG-13.
Right.
He became very strict. But I look back on that, and those were transformational, very formative years for my spiritual growth. Another thing that he did, he and my mom, I'm saying he, but it was he and my mom, but he was the one who pushed it because my mom was working. Right. He taught us to tithe. He told us this is a biblical principle. And so when I went to work at the age of 15, I would come home with an actual paycheck, right? Back when we used to get before direct deposit. And I'm aging myself on this already.
Hey, I'm with you too. I'm with you.
So we would hand him our paychecks for working 20 hours a week or something like that. And he would say, okay, 70% of this is going in your college savings. 20% is for you to spend, and 10%, and he would give us cash. He would give us 30%. 10% is going in the plate on Sunday morning. Wow. And so it was the teaching, consistent teaching over time that now, I mean, when I got married, it was very easy for me to say, well, this isn't my money. This is the Lord's money. Yeah. So anyway, so it has made it really easy as an adult to be able to be generous, I guess, with money, because I know it's really not my money. So then I went to college. My sister and I went to college at Abilene Christian University. I met who is now my husband in the first week of school. We didn't start dating until like the end of my freshman year. Then got married, and my husband wanted to be a minister, so a youth minister. So we got married right after my sophomore year. I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was 1 month 20 when I got married, and because my husband was graduating. So, and then we moved to Tulsa. I was a youth minister's wife at the Park Plaza Church of Christ in Tulsa for 12 years. Then he moved into community outreach ministry, and then he's been the senior preaching pastor since 2005, I think. So coming up on 20 years.
20 years,
We branched and moved locations. And so, so I'm the preacher's wife.
Wow.
I'm the pastor's wife, but I'm also an entrepreneur. So my church gives me lots of leeway when it comes to church leadership stuff. I really get to do what I want to do because they knew that, I had this other thing, or these multiple other things on the side where I've been growing businesses where I get to use my leadership with my staff, with my franchisees, and point people to Jesus.
I love that. I love it. And that's what a great way to walk into that too, that you're already setting the understanding and knowing that, hey, listen, this is not going to be the traditional pastor's wife where I come in and, sit for these meetings and just do whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
there's going to be, I'm here. I'm obviously supporting him.
And there were several years of youth ministry where I was the unpaid girls youth minister.
Right. Of course. Yeah. We're paying you. It's a twofer. It's a twofer deal, right?
Yes. Yep. Oh man.
That's awesome. Well, awesome to look back on now, maybe, but the journey there, obviously. So that helped, I think, set up a little foundation there. Sure. So now with that, obviously it sounds like you really, I love the way you shared that, like the 30%, 70%, what a great concept and foundation for you to learn how to take that. And it's like, this money's not even, I'm going to see that money. Yeah. And this, I'm going to just do what I budget for, or what I'm going to get candy, or I'm going to go buy something, save up for some purse or some whatever that you wanted to do. And then also 10% is, there's no negotiation on it. That's going to the Lord. How did that principle and maybe that journey, how did that set you up for the journey of walking into the launching of Just Between Friends? I mean, that's obviously kind of my frame of reference of you and launching and the connection to Tulsa. And maybe there's something else before that I don't remember in their journey.
I think when I will also share this story when I was the summer before I got married, my dad, like I said, he was very like, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And he said, Shannon, there are two main reasons why people get divorced: money and sex. And so I'm giving you 3 books to read this summer before you get married. 2 of them were on debt-free living, and 1 of them was on sex, because he wanted me to go into the marriage prepared. Yeah.
Informed.
Informed about what debt can do and how you get into debt and how not to get into debt. And so, I'm a big proponent of professional development now. And I wonder, is it because that, you only grow as much as whatever you're reading or listening to. Yeah. And my dad started us off early with that. So I think, we went from my dad making 6 figures in the early 80s to my mom going to work. And so it changed our life back when we were in junior high. And we started shopping consignment because my dad, again, the financial mastermind of the home, he said, girls, here is your clothing budget, and you have this amount of money to spend this year on your clothing. And you can spend it all in January, or you can make it last through December. But when prom comes around and you want a prom dress and you don't have any money left, you're going to be out of luck. And so it taught us budgeting. Yeah, right. That's good. And so part of budgeting for clothes was, we know we can't pay retail with this limited amount. Right. So we've got to figure out a way to stretch our dollar. And so our mom introduced us to consignment stores. And so we would go to the consignment store and she would say, only buy this if you love it. Like, you have to love it, because our money was just so limited. Right. And, so we were introduced to consignment in junior high, and it carried throughout. When I got married, I was still shopping consignment for myself. And I knew marrying a youth minister was not a vow of poverty, but kind of. And so my elementary education degree in Oklahoma was also not going to contribute in a significant way. And so I was like, we're just going to have to make ends meet through being creative and budget friendly. And that meant, when we had kids, we started shopping consignment. Well, I was trying to stay home as, be a stay-at-home mom. So I had left my teaching profession to stay home with my kids. And I was looking for ways to make a little bit of money to supplement the family income back before remote work was a thing. Right. And so if you can, I keep saying all of these things, but
it's so true though.
Changed. Yeah.
Yeah, like for people like to listening, like, well, remote work is no. Prior to 2020, really not a lot of people did remote work. It was you'd have a special exception to get to work at home. So
yes, yeah. So, but I told my mom, if you hear of anything that I could do from home, please let me know. And she called me one day and gave me the idea for Just Between Friends based on an experience that she had had. But this was, small business didn't have a presence on the internet. Email had come out in 1996. This was 1997.
Gotcha.
And you would hear about something, but you would have to problem solve around it yourself. And so I asked a friend of mine from church, Devin Tackett, if she would what she thought of this idea, because she was the biggest bargain hunter that I knew. And when I say this idea, what I mean is a consignment sale, not a brick and mortar location, a consignment sale where families come together in a welcoming, friendly venue to sell and buy gently used children's and maternity clothes, toys, and baby equipment. So Devin and I convinced 17 of our friends in September of 1997 to bring us their gently used children's and maternity clothes. We got all of that stuff ready. We knew we didn't want this event to be a garage sale. We knew we wanted it to be upscale. So we made these A-frame signs that we put on the corners. They were not garage sale signs. They were painted really cute.
Yes.
For those of you who remember Mary Englebright, that was kind of the look and feel for the signs.
Yes.
And we had 4 or 5 racks of children's and maternity clothes in my living room. Someone tried to buy my couch. We used the kitchen drawers as cash drawers, and we sold $2,000 worth of merchandise in that, in those 2 days. And I made $150 and Devin made $150. And that was the start of Just Between Friends. And that's the business that I just sold in December of 2022 with 42 million in system-wide sales, 150 locations in 33 states. So the Lord was very present in that business and still is, and just guiding. We did a lot of praying for wisdom and revelation in the business, and he gave it to us generously.
Yeah. And he brought the right people along, all the different franchisees and the people that come alongside. And and the executive team, the advisory board. Oh my gosh, my advisory board. I can't begin to tell you. Like, if you were in the franchising space and I told you who was on my advisory board, your mind would be blown. Because like, anytime I told people, like, these people are on my advisory board, they'll be like, what? What? How did you get them? I'm like, the Lord, Jesus is faithful.
Yes. Yeah. So it was,
that's good.
It was good. Not that we didn't have lots of failure and challenges in those 26 or 27 years, but, it was a really fun ride.
Yeah. And I'm sure the lessons you've learned out of that are just, again, you've been able to carry those on and share, with your kids and your, friends. And
now I'm doing executive coaching.
And now you get to take that and learn, which is right into our my next pivot. That was perfect setup there. So obviously that was kind of my next question was just what, obviously the whole concept of you learning to hear the voice and to be obedient and to serve and just basically to give because that's what you just knew to do. You just surrendered to what the Lord was telling you to do. Yeah. Was that hard?
I tried.
I know as we're human as we are, right? But just the consistency of learning that style of living, living in that place of serving the Lord. How was that journey up and to the point of selling it? And then now how has it been, since then of launching your new?
I'll tell a quick story. So, in 2011, Devin and I had started both businesses together. We were 50-50 partners in the Tulsa business, which was the one that started in my living room.
Right.
That went on to be at the Tulsa Fairgrounds for those who are local.
Yes.
And then we started franchising the business in 2003. So we ran the Tulsa business for 6 years, proved the concept, helped other people do it in other states before we actually franchised it. So proved the concept. 2003, we started actually selling franchises, but we started with 10 or 11 locations.
Okay.
So we had the Tulsa business, which we thought at the time it was doing 400,000 in sales at the end. Yeah. I think at the end of 2003, we had done 400,000 in sales. We thought we've capped out in how big the Tulsa sale could get. So let's go ahead and franchise. We'll help people do 400,000 in sales.
Yeah.
And what we didn't know was that both businesses would continue to rise and grow and scale ridiculous amount. So 2011, so 2003 to 2011 grew both of those businesses together. At the time, the Tulsa sale was doing 1.4 million in sales.
Wow.
And so we're like, oh, holy cow. But what was happening? We had all these franchisees over here. 2009, we had sold 30 franchises in 1 year. We had scaled too quickly.
Wow.
And we were starting to experience the unfun side of franchising, which is when franchisees turn on you.
Oh.
And rightly so, they should have turned on us because we were not doing things really to support. We were doing some things to support them, but we were not doing enough things to support them. And that was because our focus was split. And so Devin and I decided to reorganize the company. She was going to take the Tulsa business as her 100% business, and I was going to take the franchise system as my 100% business, so that we could really focus, be there for our customer base, which was vastly different. Hers were people who wanted to buy and sell gently used children's and maternity clothes, toys, and baby equipment. Mine was people who wanted to buy a franchise, go to work for themselves, and help them with legal, legislative, marketing, finance, operations, franchise development, all that kind of stuff.
All that, right.
Yeah. And I couldn't do both. So on the eve of us getting ready to sign paperwork, I called my sister crying. So my sister is one of my spiritual mentors in my life. She is also crazy enough married to a pastor. So we both married pastors. I don't think that was like, I don't think my parents set out to have us marry pastors. It's just what happened. But so I called her and was crying. And I was like, I've never run a business by myself, and I was whining and crying and like, what am I thinking? And she actually got mad at me. And she was like, Shannon, you are not running this business by yourself. You are yoked with the Lord. And when you do not know what to do, He is going to be there to carry you. Yeah.
Come on.
And it was just this great mental picture of a yoke of oxen. And when one workhorse gets tired, the other, you don't have to bear the whole burden. And I have come back to that over and over and over and over again, because franchising is hard. It is not for the faint of heart.
I believe
it's a challenge, and leadership is hard. And when you think, boy, I don't know what to do, like, I'm glad this isn't my company, Lord. This is your company. Thank you for giving it to me to manage, and I'm going to manage it for as long as you want me to be the manager. And when you don't want me to be the manager anymore, you're going to have to show me who's going to be the next manager. And so, Lord, I'm coming to you because I don't know what to do. So you better show me the path, light the way, give me direction. Let me sit in your presence so that I will know what to do. And that is not normal for people to just not make plans, right? Because I'm a planner. Believe me, I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. So I'm a builder, I'm an achiever, I'm a planner. Let's set a goal. Let's go get it. Yes. And it's so refreshing though, when you sit in the presence as a leader and you don't know what to do, yet you have lots of people following you, millions of people depending on your decision making, that then you're able to really run to the Lord's feet and sit there and say, act like a little kid. Like, Lord, what do you want me to do? Show me your big plan. And so she kind of got onto me in that moment and gave me the encouragement I needed to move forward.
Wow. That's so good. Yeah. And I think that's just another kind of a marker there of having importance of having people around us that are, attuned and can give that encouragement.
Yes.
Can call you on the carpet, so to speak, on things, godly wisdom. Absolutely. Yeah. That's so good. Well, I'm going to pivot a little bit with that. And, so there are lots of opportunities in life that we have that challenges as we go through them. What we do with them, right? How we walk through them, not just that they happen to us, but we can have, we respond to them. So if you wouldn't mind sharing, a little bit about how you took, tragic situation of a land that was intended for one use, and turning that around for something for the Tulsa Jinx community that has turned into a thriving, amazing business, and one which I have to say my wife absolutely loves being a part of what you're doing over there. Cold Creek
this is
Farm.
totally a God story for sure. So you have a little bit of insight.
A little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. So my husband has always been someone who wanted land one day. His parents lived on 600 acres. They didn't own the 600 acres, but they had access to it. And so when we would go, it was owned by family friends. And so they lived on 2 of the acres, and then of course they could go anywhere on the property with the 4-wheelers. And so it was like it was ours. Well, we grew up. I mean, I think they moved out there the year that we got married. They moved out to the property in East Texas. And so we would go, 4 or 5 times a year to Quitman, Texas.
Texas. I know where that is.
Quitman. Man, it's a small town outside of the other small town of Mineola. Outside the other small town of Tyler. So
Tyler, which is also near Sulphur Springs. Sulphur Springs.
So in between Tyler and Sulphur Springs, it's called Quitman.
So my grandparents lived in Winsboro, Texas, which is just south of there. Oh. Yeah, for I think 10, 12, 13 years, something like that. My dad's parents lived there. And so I know right where that is.
in the piney woods, right? All the pine
Yes.
Yeah. It's awesome. Texas is beautiful. So we would go there anyway. He absolutely, that is where he would, when you get out in nature, sometimes it's so much easier to spend time with the Lord because you're surrounded by his presence.
Agreed.
And so we would go to Quitman. He would chop wood. He would tear down the beaver dam. They would clean up the trails. They would mow, brush hog, all of that. Use the chainsaw and and so that he loved totally a guy thing. Anyway, so he wanted that here. That was 4 hours away.
Right.
And so I'm going to try to tell this as a short story because I can, I love to tell stories. So Stephen, so you're going to have to stop me, but
I'm watching. Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Over the course of our marriage, my husband had said, "Hey, this property is for sale. Let's go look at it." And what he meant is, let's go drive by and peek at it. We would never call. We just didn't have the financial means to even think about it. So, okay, fast forward 2012, 2013. Mitch was like, the church, not Mitch, but the church, our church family had outgrown our location in Midtown Tulsa. And so we were looking to branch. And so we made that move. We moved, part of our church family moved to a campus on Peoria. Another group of people went and planted a church in Jinx, which, and they were meeting at a school. So they had been doing that for a couple of years. And I'm not exactly sure on the time or whatnot, but they had been doing it for a couple of years, and they knew they were getting really tired of unloading the trailer every Sunday at a school. And, they wanted a place that was theirs where they could host events. They could, just not meet in temporary facilities.
Right.
And so the church was looking for land in Jinx. And so they found this piece of property. It was 15 acres. It was part of a 40-acre plot that, where unfortunately the owner had passed away. And, so we knew that the property was available, but also land developers in Jinx also knew that the property was available. And so the church was looking at it, do we buy this? We ended up not buying the 40 acres, but then that land developer came to us and said, okay, 15 of the acres, I'm happy to sell you 15 of the acres. And so our leadership at our Jinx branch was praying about this piece of property. And my husband had brought me by this piece of property because he's like, oh my gosh, we're praying about this. It's a beautiful piece of property. It had two dilapidated houses on it, lots of fencing, lots of down trees because the gentleman who had been here was, aging.
Sure.
And there were some horses. There were a couple of dilapidated horse barns. And anyway, brought me out here and said, this is the property that they're looking at. The catch was that it was 15 acres, but 13 of it was in the floodplain. So,
right.
So the church, over the course of about 3 or 4 months, prayed about it, and the church leadership decided that this is not the best location for our church. I don't know why that decision was made, but that opened up the opportunity for someone else to have it. And the church leadership told my husband on a Friday morning at Bible study, hey, we don't think this is the best route for us to go. And Mitch called me that morning. He said, hey, the church isn't getting that property. And I was like, oh man, I'm so sorry, honey. I know you loved that. You thought it was beautiful. He said, you think we could get it? And I started laughing just like that, like, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah, you're so funny.
Yeah, because I knew how much it was. And I was like, I don't think that's going to be in our budget. We had 2 kids in college. I look back, I'm like, I can't believe this. But anyway, I'm like, I don't even know how to buy land. How much do you have to put down? And what is this? What does this mean? So it turns out we could not afford it on our own. But we figured out pretty quickly that if we split it with someone, that we would be able to afford half of it, putting money down on half of it. So we were like, okay, who do I want to be neighbors with?
Yeah. Pick your neighbors. Hand pick who I want to be neighbors with.
Who do we want to be neighbors with and is willing to pay, X amount of dollars for 7.5 acres or whatever it was going to be. And I will tell you, the cost of the land was more than the cost of the house we were living in by $100,000. So I'm like, okay, so that gives you a little bit of perspective.
Yeah, reference point, sure.
Yeah, reference point. And so I'm like, okay. But I knew my husband wanted it. So let's see if we can figure out how to make this work. And so we reached out to Alan and Courtney Trimble, who, for those who aren't local, kind of like a celebrity in Jinx because he had won, 15 state championships or something like that. They agreed to split it with us. Then there were some things that happened. Coach Trimble was supposed to be retiring and then going back to work for the school. But this is in that time frame where some other stuff was happening with Coach Trimble, and he was diagnosed with ALS. So there were some retirement things happening and then some health issues happening. And so they ended up not thinking that was a good idea to split this land, which it turned out absolutely it was a good idea. And they're in leadership at our church, and just we love the Trimbles. And so anyway, we're like, oh, bummer. Now we're going to either have to say goodbye to this property or we're going to have to move on and find someone else who might want to split it with us. And we were in that process when my mother-in-law passed away from cancer. And my father-in-law had passed away 2 years earlier of cancer. And, in their age 70 and 72 was when they passed away. So they had been a principal and a teacher, and they had saved for retirement. So they had, this nest egg that they were going to be using for retirement that now was being split in the estate between my husband and his sister. And we were able to then put a down payment on the property. And that is how we got the property. Wow. And so we have since planted over 100 pine trees because they lived in the piney woods.
Yes.
We planted 100 dogwood seedlings because it was Lake Lydia, where they lived, was the home of the dogwood trails.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah. And so, but none of the seedlings that we planted of dogwoods made it on the property. I don't know why, but we planted some bigger dogwoods. So I think we have 6 dogwoods.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was kind of in honor of Boomy and Manny, which is their grandparent names, Boomy and Manny, because they worked hard their whole life, and they were able to, leave an inheritance that we have then been able to come in, pretty up the property, and now we let the community use it. So
yeah, and I'll just tag in on that one that what they have done with this property is just, it allows, my wife is a photographer, and so it allows photographers to come in and just capture, capture moments for people and that last a lifetime. Right. Yep. And so that's the fun about photography, is that you're sitting down or you're whatever, walking through, and you're pausing for these little moments and capturing these moments that an image, brings a memory, and it just shares those moments of seniors and graduates and marriage. And it's just so fun to see other people coming out there that, then our family has come there, and family photos out there too. And so,
Stephen, it's fun because we didn't know we were going to move out here. That's a whole nother story that I don't really have time for, but
sure.
We live so that we have a barn. Now we tore down the dilapidated houses. We cleaned up the property. It took about 2 or 3 years to get it cleaned up. And then we built our house out here. So we've been living out here for 5 years. It'll be 5 years in October. And, it's fun because we get to look out and we get to see, people getting engaged. I don't know how we've had countless engagements out here.
Oh,
and
I love that.
The family is hiding in the bushes or hiding behind our house, or while the photographer's hiding, and and then we've seen multiple confetti cannons go off to say you're having a boy or a girl, or
gender reveal parties. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's so fun. I had a call this week. Someone wants to shoot. She's a recording artist from Nashville, a country music person, and wants to shoot a video out here. Her song's about a creek, and we have a beautiful creek, Clearwater Creek, that flows through here. So yeah, it is totally of the Lord. And we have 4 hours every day where the public can come out for free if they want to walk around, if they want to pray, if they want to, sit and read the Bible in the Adirondack chairs. It's pretty for Oklahoma, I will say.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. It really is. The creek running in the back there, which I guess that's how the name Coal Creek came for it. But the creek running in the back there, and I love it. I love the pines. That's been a nice addition, especially for folks with the Christmas, want to have some Christmas options. They want the piney trees. So, well, good. Well, okay. So we're on the home stretch here. Bring us to this exciting new venture. What about launching what you're doing now? The consulting and executive coaching. What does that look like, and how's that journey been?
I sold the brand in December of 22 to our largest multi-unit franchisee. Again, we could spend an hour on that, but I won't.
We'll have you back again. We'll have more conversations. We'll come back here again.
And so I'm still working for the brand for 3 years. So they contracted me to be the brand ambassador, and I'm kind of the historian that knows kind of what's happened. And so they keep me around for a meeting or two a week, and I'm going to be helping with the podcast. There you go. Ironically, in the coming months. But I took probably, when I hired a president in Just Between Friends, that was in December of 21, my workload went from probably 60 hours a week to 30 hours a week.
That's good.
And so it opened up my time when people would say, "Hey, Shannon, can I pick your brain?" For me to say yes. And so for probably 18 months before the transaction happened, I found myself consistently coaching 6 people for free, every month. And so as I was thinking about, well, what am I going to do next? I'm not going to go twiddle my thumbs. I'm not going to be a full-time grandmother. I have 3 grandkids and 1 on the way right now. And
that's exciting.
That's all. Like the oldest grandchild is 2.5, and we're about to have 4.
So
she'll be 3 by the time this next one comes.
Yeah, so, that's exciting.
But none of them live here. So I wasn't going to be a full-time grandmother. And so what am I just asking the Lord, inquiring of the Lord, asking for revelation, like, where can you use me, Lord?
Yeah.
And so I was looking at other CEO positions. I was looking at buying another business. And then, of course, looking at coaching. But if I can be honest with you, this is my pride. I felt like coaching would be a great thing to do. But my title, and maybe this is something a lot of men struggle with, my identity had been in, I'm the CEO.
Right.
And yes, I'm a daughter of the King. And yes, I love the Lord, but
Sure.
I don't want to admit this to anyone, that a lot of my identity is in who I am as a leader. And I was like, wow, if I choose to do coaching, my title's going to be coach. And it just doesn't have the same zing as CEO.
Yeah.
And so I struggled with that, if I'm being honest. I'm like, that doesn't feel good. But the Lord, over time, 'cause I kind of sat in his presence for probably 6 or 7 months, like, okay, Lord, like, let me hear from you on what my next step is. And it was good to have that downtime. I had a friend come over, who actually, my president for my Just Between Friends, she came over and she was visiting with me, and I was telling her kind of what my options were. And she said, Shannon, can I tell you something? And she's that person who like puts me in my place sometimes. And she's the person who is the no person when everyone else is saying yes. She's like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
So she's the tell it like it is. And she said, when you talk about this as a path, and when you talk about this as a path, your eyes don't light up as when you talk about your coaching business. And I already had named the coaching business Shine Executive Coaching.
Yeah.
Because, again, my sister gave me the verse, and it was just, I need to grab it. This is from The Message. And it's funny, I heard John Maxwell speak this weekend. I was in Scottsdale, and he was speaking at Christ Church of the Valley.
Yeah.
And we were there, and he used this verse. He's written a new book, and he used this verse, but it's Matthew 5:14-16 from The Message.
Oh, that's great.
Here's another way to put it. You are here to be light, bringing out the God colors in the world. God is not a secret to be kept. We're going public with this, as public as a city on a hill. If I make you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? I'm putting you on a light stand. Now that I've put you there on a hilltop, on a light stand, shine. Keep open house. Be generous with your lives. By opening up to others, you'll prompt people to open up with God, this generous Father in heaven. So I knew that if I did a coaching business, it was going to be called Shine.
Yeah.
And so when she said, when you talk about the coaching business, your eyes light up. And so that is in September of 2023, I went full time on the coaching business, and it is a startup. So I'm like, wow, why did I sell a business? I was working 30 hours a week. Now I'm working 60 hours a week.
Working more again, right? Yeah.
Right. These 12-hour days are not, but I don't have children at home. I do it to myself, quite frankly. I'm just very driven, but it's been fun. It's been challenging. It's been fun. It's been challenging. And I'm sure it will continue to be fun and challenging.
Yes.
So that's what I'm doing right now. I currently have 13 paying clients, and a lot of them are franchisors. Some of them are what I call mom and pop business owners. They're doing 6 figures. They want to do 7 figures.
Yep.
Really, really a lot of the content that we talk about is scalability, mindset. How do you get from where you are now to where you really want to go? And what is the process to get there?
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We know what I love, Shannon, about that. I think you hit it on the head with the identity. I think there's so many people, that could be men or women, that are, we're tied to, even back in the days that you're as a teacher, right? Well, I am a teacher. Well, okay. Are you a teacher or a person who would learn how to teach people well?
Yep.
Transfer information, have, those kind of things. I think so. That's so good, as we're challenged to recognize, and this is my challenge to those who are listeners or viewers, that you would take a second today. And what Shannon has shared is that, the Lord is your source of being your identity,
Amen.
right? As we find our identity in Him. And maybe you need to take a moment and just ask Him to just help reframe your identity in Him, and that the title you've given yourself or somebody else has given you doesn't mean anything compared to, follower of the King or, Christ follower, son, daughter, of Him. And so that'd be my challenge.
I need to tell myself that daily.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's who I am daily.
Yes. And, the confession, the identity, mindset. You mentioned the mindset thing. I'll take us both back to little Coach JC action, right? Like, like the confession of winning ourselves, making sure why I'm here. What am I doing? Those kind of things I think are so helpful to reframe our mindset of what we believe about ourselves, and that's a huge win, each day. Yeah. So that's good. Let's do a little I call it popcorn or a rapid fire here at the end. Some fun things. We have a few minutes. I know I'm watching the clock tight, so I know where you're at on your time frame. But what is your favorite meal? Favorite food?
Ooh, wow, boy, I like to eat.
Okay.
I'm trying to think Mexican food for sure.
Okay. And then I know local and international, national won't care about this, but what's your favorite local one to go to?
It's a hole in the wall place called Los Mariachis.
Ooh, I haven't heard of this one. Where is this?
There's a couple. It's so good.
Okay, I need to know.
They have one in Broken Arrow, and they have one. They have one in Jinx, right on Highway 75. Yeah, right before you get to the Glenpool exit.
Oh, I know. Okay, I know it is.
Los Mariachis. It's so good.
Okay,
very affordable. They're fast. Their fajitas are yummy.
Oh, I love it. Okay, I got a new place to check it out. I love it. All right. What is your favorite place you've gotten to travel in life?
Ooh, okay. Toss up between Italy and Greece.
I've been to both, and I understand why you're saying that.
Yeah,
they're amazing places.
Santorini, probably most romantic, Santorini.
Yes.
But favorite in terms of things to do and see, the history and all of that, probably Italy.
Italy, yeah. Did you go to Rome or Florence?
We went to probably
the whole thing.
We went to Positano, we went to Capri, we went to probably 6 or 7 different places.
Oh, I love
Rome, Florence, yeah.
Rebecca, I need to get to share stories about that with you at some point.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's see here. So now tell me about do you remember your biggest prize you have won in a contest? See if they line up with what I think it is.
Oh, yeah. I won a Mercedes for a 2-year lease on a Mercedes. That's a whole other story.
Yeah, you did.
Yes, that was awesome.
JC told me that one.
Was it on the podcast, or did he just tell you?
No, I haven't had him on yet. We're going to. We're setting him up. He's coming. Yeah. No,
that was awesome.
So that was a long transformation, hardcore transformation recruiting.
It was a boot camp.
Class. Yeah. So I love that.
Shape for sure, and help 52 other people get there.
That's right. See, you've been influencing people from the get-go all the way around. I love it. Oh, I love it. Well, Shannon, I want to say thank you for your time. We could probably talk for another hour. I think I love the stories, time, and everything. But thank you for your time, and I think the theme today is just to be the light, right? To share the light, be the light we're called to be, and to shine with the love of Jesus. Yeah. Would you mind praying us out for our listeners?
I would love that. Lord, we just come to you right now, and we thank you so much just for the ministry of podcasts, the ministry of your words through other people, that we can listen, we can be encouraged, we can be inspired by what we hear. Lord, we ask that you don't let this fall on the hard ground, that something that has happened in this podcast today, tomorrow, the next day will be a seed that is sown in someone's life for your glory. Lord, we love you. It's in your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. And if somebody wants to track you down and find out your information, they want to talk to you about coaching or the story, how can they find you?
The best way is LinkedIn.
Okay.
Or my email, shannon@shineexecutivecoaching.com.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm on all the places. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. So
very good. Very good. And on LinkedIn, I was just there a second ago. Actually, Shannon Wilburn. So you can type in linkedin.com. I think it's / Shannon Wilburn.
Yep.
All one word there. Wonderful. We'll put that in the notes in below the podcast for people. And so I just want to say thanks again. Thanks so much for your time. And we'll have to connect again and have this another podcast more. And then also love to connect with Rebecca and you. We'll have some Italy travel stories at some point.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Awesome. Blessings to you. Have a fantastic day. And thanks for tuning in to the GEB America podcast. We'll see you next time. Share and tell your friends about it. Looking forward to the next GEB America podcast. We'll see you then.